time is it?
Okay, we have some fabulous live music later on, but right now, here's the kind I prefer.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Shad with West Coast Styles, and I am here in the presence of Mr. Chuck Creekmur, the co-founder of allhiphop.com. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, Chuck.
What's going on, Shad? How you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. I can't complain. I'm healthy and I'm happy and I'm,
For sure.
COVID free.
That's good. You're holding up through the pandemic all right then.
Yes, sir. Indeed.
Glad to hear it.
Thank you.
Of course. So take us back to the beginning. How did All Hip Hop get started?
All Hip Hop got started because I guess let me go to the super very beginning. Somewhere along the line, my business partner, Grouchy Greg, decided he wanted to sell records digitally. And he decided to do it through this platform that he called All Hip Hop. And at the same time, I had a publication online that was called Tantrum. And Tantrum was my site. Me and Greg are both from Delaware, so we both had we were similar. We were similar, but we were different. And competitive too. Me and Greg, we don't really talk about it too much, but we had rap crews, and we were both in the game as far as hip hop is concerned locally in Delaware. But as we got older, around 97 or so, we just started kicking it 96, 97. I can't remember the exact date, but nevertheless, Greg needed some graphics for All Hip Hop, and Greg needed, it was different things. I was getting proficient with Photoshop and small things on the internet, and then Greg, I would design things for him, so logos and things, little things, graphics. Eventually, we just realized it just didn't make any sense for us to be having these entities, really not working together at the end of the day. So we decided to partner. We partnered up as men in terms of business, and we came together for All Hip Hop. That's kind of like a different spin on the story that I don't usually say.
Oh no, well, thank you very much for sharing. So from your standpoint, what came first for you? Was it journalism or hip hop?
Oh, hip hop for sure. Yeah, hip hop definitely came first. Hip hop was one of the things that I was passionate about from almost like a possession or something. You know what I mean? Like in terms of a spirit go into your body and you're like, oh shoot, what is this? What's going on? That's what hip hop was for me. It was one of my first great passions. And in terms of its impact on my life, I can't even begin to quantify exactly how important hip hop has been. In a lot of ways, it's a cliche, but I could say that, hip hop saved my life, in a number of ways.
Can you give us some examples?
Well, I like to mostly talk about how it saved me from just a really boring existence, really just from, where, again, being from Delaware, a lot of the life course is based around, I don't want to say boredom, but just very traditional lifestyles, go to school, get married, work at a bank, and I kind of lived that life for a while. And then, but that was me going through the motions. My whole life up until college was really like just living and breathing hip hop. I got to college, lived and breathed hip hop. And then when I graduated from college, I went and worked at a bank. It just didn't make sense. Why would I do all this time and then go work at a bank? So for me, hip hop literally saved me from an existence that I would have been miserable in. In a lot of other ways, it saved me from, some of the things that normal kids get into, just trouble, get, things that I somewhat got into, but just didn't go as far as other people did. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
yeah.
Did the content you were writing at that publication before you teamed up with Greg, was that similar to what you ultimately started writing for All Hip Hop, or was there some adjustment that you made to adjust to what he was doing as well?
No, there was no adjustment because it was literally the same stuff. I mean, um, respectfully, I brought a lot of the journalism, the journalism to the to the table as well. At that point in my career, for those that were around in the '90s, you knew that there was a real big boom towards the end of the '90s with rappers like DMX, Big Pun, cannabis. There was a major resurgence on the East Coast in particular because um, the West Coast, respectfully, was really dominant in a lot of ways during that period, and I think the East Coast was trying to make a comeback. So there was Memphis Bleak, Jay-Z's crew, all these guys being here in the on the East. We were able to access those artists at that time, and it helped translate from my personal company, that was before All Hip Hop, but actually just really transferring what I was already doing to All Hip Hop. And Greg and I were a perfect match, truly like a really genuine perfect match, because Greg's a technologist to the heart, very smart, very well read, and he and we just worked very well together. And
Mhm.
it really took flight when each of us brought our skills to the table.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you are certainly a pioneer, and someone I consider a mentor. And I definitely wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today if it wasn't for the guidance that you helped me with. So that's very much appreciated and never forgotten.
Mhm.
Um, I also wanted to, I'm curious too, because you started, with the internet and all hip hop, in the 90s before it was what it is today. Did you, what type of resistance or hesitation did you encounter from uh, hip hop culture or from readers or from anything in terms of the legitimacy of what you and Greg were doing?
We didn't have any resistance from readers or um, we had resistance from the publications, the magazine world, traditional publishing and stuff, But as far as people ate it up, we
Mhm.
had everything from daily news. Like, I know it sounds crazy, but daily news was not really a thing before all hip hop.
Mhm.
Wireless news, what you would call now notifications, were what we innovated that. We brought that to the game before anyone, not just hip hop. So being able to say that we did those things allowed us and allows us to really say, really pop our collar and say what we brought to the game. A lot of people now take it for granted, but back then people loved it. The music industry was not known for being ahead of the curve as it related to technology in this form. And so us bringing, for example, just wireless um, news transmission to people was cool. Everybody had a two-way pager. You're getting, the news the fastest way. You're able to tell people or share it, whatever. So we were able to get cool with just about everybody in the game on this side. So we loved the access that we were given, and I won't even say given. Really it was taken.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Would you say that there was so what would you say you all hip hop has obviously evolved and continuously been evolving. What are some of the points along the way when you're like, okay, we need to change the layout of the site, or we need to update this or make this change in technology with the wireless communication or news blips like you were saying?
Well, yeah, we're like nerds, but we're not nerds, right? We're
Mhm.
not corny, you know what I mean? So, um, back in the day, only goobers were like, and I mean that respectfully. Like, I don't even mean it in a negative way to like You know what I'm saying? Like, I just mean that there was a negative connotation for people that were on the internet or online or whatever you want to call it. It was a negative thing. And so for us, we of the culture, so we weren't like hidden behind a desk or hidden in a back room or something. So the changes were not hard to make. You know, we all wanted our respect when we walked in the street.
Mhm.
So you know, we made a lot of our changes based on technology. We understood that, hey, everybody isn't on a computer. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like, everybody's not tied to a computer. And we knew that our audience really wasn't tied to a computer. So those two ways were very like fashionable. You know, they were super cool or whatever. So, and then as you go along and you see things changing and evolving, you definitely have to change and evolve with those times, and that continues today.
Mhm. One other piece of content that the site's kind of notorious for is ill seed. What's the story on ill seed and rumors and all of that? I know that's definitely been something that has helped garner the site a lot of attention over the years.
Yeah, man, Ill Seed is just it's another part of all hip hop that just caught on real organically. You know, I don't know why. I can't remember why we started doing rumors. Um, but I think what it was, you know, we were privy to so much content that we were unable to put in the factual form. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
or we were in rooms and and tipster. You know, people were giving us tips. You know, people were telling us, hey man, this dude just fell asleep at the you know, the conference room. You know, a rapper, for example,
Mhm.
um he just fell asleep, he's drugged out or something. You know what I mean? Like, whatever, or this guy is gay, or this guy is this. You know, so some of those things were really just people. Honestly, it's what you would consider a modern day TMZ. You know, a
Mhm.
TM, you know, precursor to TMZ. um you know, the only thing that we did not do in a lot of instances, out of respect for the artist, was we would not like fully confirm, because some of that stuff, I mean, TMZ, how many times you gonna see a TMZ rap? You know, never. You know what I'm saying? So out of respect for the culture and out of respect for people's real lives, a lot of times, um you know. But the other thing with Ill Seed is this: it gave us the opportunity to have a lighter tone to the site, you know, more fun and entertaining and things like that. And I think that that's something we hope to get back to just, you know, everything is so tense now. Everybody's wound up really tight. Everybody is mad. You know what I'm saying? And I think we might have been mad then too, but this was a way to lighten the mood a little bit on the site.
Mhm. Another thing that the site is very well known for, and I believe, and I give credit to All Hip Hop for coining the phrase "the top five dead or alive."
Thank you.
Oh, without a doubt. Um, so I looked up your top five again, and if I'm not mistaken, you have had the opportunity to speak or communicate with all of them. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I've got Chuck D, Redman, Jay, DMC, and G Rap.
Who's the first one? Chuck D.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey man, I got a killer top five, boy.
You
You know what
do.
I'm saying?
Chuck D does not make enough of those lists. I think.
Yeah. Got it. You know, since we're you know on this, you know, since we're here, I gotta throw Ice T out there, man. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? West Coast styles. Shout out to my man Ice T. You know, Ice T is a rapper that I can never speak high enough. I can never give him enough respect. And while all those guys are definitely the ones that I will say had the most profound sort of, that's where my list comes from, sort of like the guys that grabbed me and shaped and molded me in some form or fashion. And but Ice T deserves to be on that list too, because he's just man, like I would say that he's top five stand up men in hip hop, you know. And
Mhm.
And last year I got the pleasure to interview him for over 2 hours. And man, you know, I just had to throw that out there. But yeah, Chuck D, DMC. I specified DMC because he's I feel like he's like a lot like me, and we're very cool. I think friends is a strong word, but we hang out a lot. I mean, I met Stan Lee through
Oh,
DMC.
wow.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
Yeah. The second time I met Stan Lee, you know, I walked in with DMC. You know what I'm saying? So I got a different experience with DMC. You know what I mean? And if you listen to, you know, Redman, I mean, you know, these guys are Cool G Rap. I mean, they're all still amazing artists. Ice-T included, an amazing artist to this day. You know, Ice-T's on the new Public Enemy album, and he's spitting fire, man. He says, "I destroy bars like Hell's Angels." Come on, man. Like, this guy is 60 something years old. Like, this is crazy. You know what I'm saying? So my heroes are the ones that have the longevity, and they were the most lyrical, or they were the most profound. Like Ice-T and Chuck D gave me life lessons. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
They still spread wisdom through the music. You know, New Jack Hustler. You know, Black Steel in the Hour, Chaos.
Oh.
Redman's second album, There's a Dark Side. That's like my, you know, the first two are my favorite, but There's a Dark Side is always overlooked.
Oh, you take the first two over Muddy Waters?
I absolutely do. And that's why I was talking to him the other day, and I'm like, yo, what about, you know, There's a Dark Side? But see, it's different for them. You know, that was his dark period in life. You know, he was on like mad drugs, you know, so he's seeing it from a different perspective. Same with Royce the 5'9". Death is Certain is like my favorite Royce album, but he's like, nah, man, I'm never going back to that place, you know. So yeah, man. So that's my top five. But yeah, man, my top five, that's, you know, again, you know, even Jay from a business perspective.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know, also lyrically, you know what I mean? But the lyricism with Jay is like over the long haul, more so, not so much that first album or that second or third album. Like, we're talking, oh, okay, this guy is the most consistent and evolved as well.
Yeah, in terms of consistency in the span of hip hop, I mean, from 96 till now,
Yeah.
I can't think of anybody else who wins in terms of, even though he did, you know, quote unquote, retire for a couple years there.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't really. And so,
Right.
yeah, I mean, I can't think of anybody else that's held it down for that long. I mean, that's over half the history of hip hop.
Oh, by the way, I do have my body count shirt on.
Oh, nice.
Shout out to Ice-T. That's another aspect of Ice-T.
Yeah, their new album is great. Carnivore. That's actually I have the physical CD in my car right now.
Word.
So no, man, that's awesome. So it's kind of with your top five and just also interacting with the hip hop community. What are some of those experiences like, you know, in terms of, because I know you've met Jay-Z, I believe you've met Puff as well, correct? Or did he? He'll always be Puffy to me first. So how did some of those experiences come about?
Just being impactful, man, to the culture, you know, just being impactful to the culture. You know, I mean, I love being someone that has influenced the culture. So with Diddy, I mean, I've met him several times. I mean, numerous times, not so much in the recent past, just because I think a lot of people like him have, you know, they've grown their own platforms now. He has Revolt now, so he doesn't necessarily need all hip hop. I think Jay is someone we could still talk to, but last time I saw Jay in the flesh was at the NFL Rock Nation partnership announcement. And actually Jay name checked me in that interview, and I was like, oh wow, you know, I was kind of like a little like thrown from that, you know. So it really goes to say that he actually knows who you are. But those interactions have they've always been positive. I think one time we printed something Diddy didn't like, and he started calling us Playboy. You know, when Diddy uses when he says Playboy, he's like, hey, yo,
Yeah.
Playboy, don't be, and then you might have crossed the line or two. But that's
Mhm.
cool too. Crossing the lines is all right too. That means that people are in fact watching.
Yep, and paying attention. I
Yeah.
remember too, Jay, giving you props for the stellar review you wrote of Magna Carta Holy Grail on the Breakfast Club too. That was a
Yeah,
great
yeah.
write-up as well.
Thank you. And that, to me, that was a good moment because I was a little critical in that review too. You know what I mean? He criticized one of my heroes, Harry Belafonte, and I really didn't like that. And actually, they made peace later on. And to me, that said a lot about Jay, to me, because not only did he receive the message in the review, but he also gave me my salute, and I appreciate that.
Well, you did an excellent job of explaining yourself in terms of why you felt the way you did too. It wasn't, just, content that you typed just to, stir the pot. So,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, props to Jay for recognizing and acknowledging that as well.
Yep.
Another thing, so you said you had, the last time you saw Jay was at the NFL thing, and that kind of leads me into another thing that I really admired and respected All Hip Hop for doing in the time I've, been familiar with it, is being very aware and being very socially conscious. I think that that's very important. I think the platform that you guys have, that hip hop has, it would be unfortunate to not use that to positively affect change. Was that always something and you kind of had in the back of your mind, like,
Yeah.
there's a message with this as well, as opposed to just repping the culture?
No, that's not in the back of my mind, man. That's in the front. That's in the front of my mind. You gotta understand, man. It's hard for me to, like when we get older, we're known for like one or two things. We're known for rap, or we're known for activism, or we're known for being a good painter, whatever. We're known for one or two things. But those people that know me know that I've always been in this space. If I go in my little back room or whatever, I can pull out, all the newspapers that I wrote for that spoke directly to what's going on right now, but when I was in college. So, me being in Delaware, and actually my life, folks don't realize that I grew up in the suburbs of Newark, Delaware, and I grew very close to an area called Elkton, Maryland, which is KKK town. You can Google it. Elkton, Maryland, Ku Klux Klan. It's a haven. You know what I'm saying? So, these are the things that shaped me. My dad sleeping in the car while they're building the house, with his gun to make sure that people don't vandalize our property. So fast track to, college. Not only, me as a rapper back in the day, I rapped that. I wrote about it in the school papers, went to war with the white school paper. It's really very small now, but at the time it was a big thing. The Klan marching in my, right through my college, in my hometown, if you will. So all these things shaped me. And just my parents, man. My parents had books all over the house. And, they had a certain way of educating, both teachers, by the way, of educating. So that's a part of me. So it's not something that was just thrown into all hip hop to, it's a part of me as much as hip hop. So a lot of the way, Ghostface said it best, you have to, you can't feed a baby steak. You have to like break it down, and through hip hop you can break it down.
Are there any particular hip hop records or albums? I know you mentioned Black Steel and the Hour of Chaos, that really stand out to you as like, socially conscious, or like, hey, if I want to impress upon the power of hip hop to somebody in terms of having a voice on these issues, like listen to this album or listen to this song?
Well, excuse me. Well, I think Public Enemy's "It Takes a Nation of Millions" is like the number one, but KRS has numerous albums. Yeah, it's definitely Public Enemy, but I wouldn't limit it to that, because again, going back to Ice-T or the Ghetto Boys, listening to songs like Point of No Return by the Ghetto Boys is powerful. And it doesn't have to be sort of this idea, you know, that only you have to be a certain way to speak truth to power, you know. So there are a lot of them, man. I mean, X Clan, you have you know, my man Def Jeff, you know, there's a lot of artists out there, and they still exist to this day. But I think now the fact is hip hop's been co-opted, so you don't see them as much.
Yeah, well, that's very, very unfortunate. And fortunately, the internet does exist, so they can still have a platform. But yeah, you're definitely right. It isn't marketed or, you know, pushed to the forefront like it used to be in the 80s and 90s.
Yep, absolutely.
So would you say what are some of your favorite features that you've done or other people have done for the site over the course of its, you know, 3 decades in the game? Are there any ones that stand out?
Well, I did interview Jay-Z once, and actually it was like a group of us. It was a small group of journalists that interviewed Jay, but I was one of the only Black people in that room. And I actually turned around a full feature story on Jay-Z in like one night. You know what I mean? And I mean, I don't know I don't know what people think about writing, but the way I write and the way I turned that story around, knowing that there were competing journalists in the room, was a heck of a feat. Most of the stuff that I'm proud of is the earlier stuff, because people have more attention spans, I should say, to read longer pieces and to respect breaking news. So we still break news, but most times people will steal it or even like wait a week or two. You know, they'll wait so that they can break it later or whatever the case may be. So a lot of it, you know, we broke the story that the man Dexter Isaacs was the guy that shot Tupac. You know, that was a huge story that we broke wide open, and that was a scary one because we were very close to some of the folks that were implicated in that confession. So, you know, you walking around knowing, you know, who was behind that shooting, and it wasn't comfortable for me.
Have there been any other examples or instances where, you know, the stories you've covered have, you know, really, you know, kind of blurred that line between journalists and, you know, this is, you know, journalism and life, and just where, you know, really affects you personally like that?
Not really. Can you hear me?
Oh, you just came back. I heard you say, can you hear me?
Okay, yeah. Sorry, my phone rang. I didn't turn the notifications on.
Oh,
But
no.
yeah, no, not really. We did have a situation a long time ago where somebody pulled up to one of my employees' house. You know, I mean, that was very minor. I had a personal situation. I won't name the rapper here, but I did have a personal situation where a rapper and his crew pulled up on one of my writers who was a female, and it was mad. I didn't respect it, you know what I'm saying? But I had to really step up in that instance and really, you know, bring that down to, you know, a man-to-man situation, even though it was just me by myself with him and his crew, like literally surrounding me, you know, just like they were kind of waiting for the word to be given. But, you know, I guess I could say I respected it because cooler heads prevailed and nothing happened, but it was tense.
For sure. One of the things that all hip hop that is doing right now that I definitely want to talk about is, what is this giveaway you're doing with Ti?
Oh yeah, man. Go to allhiphop.com/TI. Ti has partnered with us to give $1,200 every day for the next 10 days. All you really have to do is go to All Hip Hop and pick your favorite T.I. song from each of his albums over the course of 10 days. And he's going to give a total amount of $12,000 to a person every day. So I think, I wish I could win. You know what I mean? My daughter was like, how do I? I'm like, no, you're not eligible. I'm sorry. You can't win this one. You know what I mean? But I think it's great. And I think it also, T.I. is another one of those artists, he is respected, highly respected. And he is, obviously a legend, but I don't think he quite gets just quite enough what he's due. So I think this is a great way for us to go back and remember and reassess T.I. as an artist, man. He's incredible, and
Donald was criminally underrated.
And 50 Cent needs to give that man a versus battle, but I don't know why he won't do it, but maybe it has something to do with that fact that T.I., he washes a lot of rappers.
Mm-hmm. I think he's an artist too that you've really been able to see him evolve over the course of his career. Like, yeah. I mean, you go back and look at I'm Serious. No disrespect to that album at all. I mean, everybody starts somewhere, but if you listen to I'm Serious and would have been like, hey, 20 years from now, this is where he'll be. That's quite a jump. And so the fact that he's been able to do that and do that as successfully as he has, I think his podcast is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I think, so shout out to T.I. for sure.
Yeah, man. But yeah, man, this is the stimulus. And Donald Trump's not the only one giving out money. In fact, Donald Trump is not even the one that was giving out that money. You know what I mean? So that was a whole government issued check to people. So be very clear. Trump was not even doing it.
Yeah, and that's, if I'm not mistaken, that's taxes that we were paying into anyway. So
exactly. Yeah, that part.
Yeah. So I guess I would, is there anything else you want to comment on or speak on? I know we've, kind of covered a lot of ground, and I know you're a busy guy. I certainly don't want to take up too much of your time. We really appreciate you.
I thought we were going to talk, this is what is this? This West Coast style? I thought we were going to talk West Coast hip hop a little bit.
Oh, we can shift that way. We can shift that way. It's all good. Yeah. So in that respect, so what are some of your favorite West Coast hip hop albums?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm gonna definitely say, I'm trying to think of something non-traditional. My man King T, you know what I'm saying? Act a Fool. Of course, Ice-T, man. Ice-T's OG album is does not get mentioned enough in the classics. Shout out to Corrupt. I was at South by Southwest one time. I bumped into Corrupt and I got to spit my favorite bars at him. And also, man, shout out to the Bay, man. Shout out to the Bay, because the Bay doesn't get nearly enough props and love and respect. I actually went to the Bay for the first time 2 years ago, man. It was like, I didn't really visit, but I passed through. It was kind of cool. Paris, shout out to Paris. When you talk about artists that are impactful on a social tip, Paris is one of them. So songs like Break the Grip of Shame and so many other songs. He's a conscious rapper, kind of like the West Coast Chuck D, for lack of a better term. Too Short. Too Short is a rapper who I actually didn't G with at first, man, because he was like filthy, man. Like I couldn't even rock with him at first, man. I wasn't on that wave at first, man. But as time went on, I got to appreciate. And on the flip side, my brother and his best friend were like, love Too Short. You know what I mean? So that was kind of the dope part of growing up in Delaware, man. We didn't have the hangups of being from New York or being from, any particular place. We absorbed everything equally. So when I met Cole 187, out in LA, I flipped. I like lost it. Like I was like, yo, Above the Law was like one of my favorite groups. Like, and he's like one of those guys, really an unsung hero of the West, but yeah, man, I've been blessed, man. I've been blessed to meet everybody. I mean, about everybody, Dr. Dre, Snoop, Corrupt, um, DJ Quick, you know what I mean? And I just salute y'all, the game, um, so many others, man. But I love the West Coast, man, because right now, when you look at who's doing what's authentically them, I honestly, I mean, I gotta salute the West and I gotta salute the South. I'm not disrespecting anybody, how they make money or whatever, how they even do their art. You know what I'm saying? Because hip hop's much different now. But I feel like the West has. Also my man D Smoke, by the way. Shout out to Tim Sanchez for making me, linking me with him. And D Smoke actually is like my favorite artist right now. Like for real, for real. Like D Smoke is incredible. So, yeah.
Another West Coast act that I think gets overlooked in terms of like the hip hop history books is the Far Side. Bizarre Ride to the Far Side. That's one of the best produced hip hop albums ever.
I know, man. And I mean, and hieroglyphics, but come on. Like, how many styles is out there, man? Like, seriously. You know what I'm saying? So the Far Side, if you look at respectfully again, but if you look at the movement that J. Cole is creating, a lot of those guys remind me of like the Outkast and Far Side kind of merged together. You know what I'm saying? So I actually heard a newer version of the Far Side minus, I think, Fat Lip, and it was still dope. It was still dope. It didn't have that zaniness to it, but it was still dope.
What would you say, as someone who's been into hip hop for a very long time, does your perspective on it change just as you grow? I mean, if you were to look at, say, just using the West Coast as, for example, like you look at Ice-T's records in the 80s and you look at 6 in the Morning, and then you look at like West Coast hip hop now, like what's your take on that evolution and that change?
Well, I think, I don't want to overstep my authority, but I just don't think it's as much gangster related. You know what I'm saying? I could be dead wrong. I mean, I was literally listening to MC8 the other day. He has a new album, but I don't think it's as gangster related. But I don't think that's as much a West Coast thing as it is a hip hop thing. I think kids are growing up a little different, a lot different. So that's what I think is the main difference. They're just growing up different, man. And I do think that element obviously still exists, you know what I mean? So don't get me to talking. But I just think that it's not as prevalent. I think also, man, if I'm being real, as I've grown and matured, I don't necessarily want to hear that as much either. You know what I mean? So I think that personally, you grow and evolve, even though I do want to hear sometimes, you know what I'm saying? So it just has to be when I'm in that mood, so a lot of times that was the gym. When I was in the gym, I'm listening to the hardest stuff ever, you know what I mean? And then when I'm not in the gym, I'm just like, all right, what do I want to chill to, or what I want to ride to, or whatever, so it just depends.
Yeah, I find that some artists, now that hip hop is getting older and some artists are, middle aged, that, they're really making kind of adult contemporary hip hop. I feel like that's something newer within, say, the last 10 years. I mean, I think the first album I ever heard like that, that kind of made me think that way was Nas's Life is Good.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the thing about it is that Nas didn't create it, because there's other people that kind of ushered that in, like I would say like Fonte maybe, but I would say this, Nas brought it to the table where it was very relatable. I was personally going through a divorce at the time when that album dropped. And I was like, wow, this is kind of like the soundtrack to my life right now. And I think Jay has done it well. I think Royce the 5'9" has done it very well. And others, and then, let's keep it real. Common was doing it before occurred in a lot of regards from that. But yeah, man, I mean, how many times you gonna kill somebody? I mean, what else do you have to you? As you get older and even younger, I think younger people need to recognize that certain things don't really you don't have to posture as much. You can just be a regular human being. That's why I like D Smoke so much, because he was a teacher. He was from a musical family. He liked to use his ones and twos, but that's where that's kind of like where it goes with, what I mean, like, and it's positive as well as like manly and not corny, so
No, I think another artist that does an excellent job of kind of balancing the presentation, and it sounds cliche because he's very popular, but is Kendrick Lamar. One art, these aren't my words. I forget who said it or where I heard it, but they said if you combined NWA and De La Soul and made it one person, it would be Kendrick Lamar. And I thought that is a perfect definition and explanation of him.
Yeah, and again, Kendrick's definitely, in terms of top 5 dead or alive. The list that you gave me was, that I put online. I mean, that was at least 10 years ago. You know what I mean? So when you talk about top 5, Kendrick, you have to evolve your top 5 too. Kendrick is definitely worthy. Yeah.
Another artist you mentioned too, which I think who is also very underrated, in terms of like the legacy and impact he left on hip hop, is Big Pun.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
somebody that's, arguably in my top 5, definitely in my top 10, but Capital Punishment alone.
Yeah, if you look at the end of my top 10, top 5 dead or alive, I have a little thing at the bottom, and I just sort of, or maybe it's at the beginning, I forget, but I just kind of sprinkle in a few names because it's really hard to do a top 5. So Big Pun is one of them, man, and Big Pun just didn't get enough credit, man. Like, he's incredible, and the fact is, you think about what if they didn't die. Biggie Smalls. What if Big didn't die? Like, where would Jay-Z be if Big didn't die?
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And the same goes for Big Pun. Capital Punishment. Listen, let me tell y'all something. I have argued, and y'all, man, come for me if you want. I have argued that Big Pun was nicer as an MC than Biggie Smalls. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, if you look at my top 5, Kool G Rap is in my top 5. Pun is a descendant of Kool G Rap, so naturally it goes hand in hand with my top 5. But Big Pun, and that might actually be the reason Pun is not, because it's so similar. But man, Pun, as a wordsmith myself, I like to say that when I used to really write heavy, and when I do write, that I'm putting something together that your average everyday person can't do. So what can you do that everybody in the world cannot do? And when it comes to writing rhymes, Pun was that guy. You know what I'm saying? He was one of those people who could put words together unlike anyone else.
No, I totally understand what you're saying, because in terms of flow and so forth, I mean, Biggie's, second to none. But you were to actually transcribe their lyrics, I'd take Pun over Biggie. But in terms of flow, I mean, that's a whole other thing. But I very much understand what you're saying. It's cool you said that thing about G-Rap too, because I think it's at the beginning of his Yeah Baby album. The intro, it's like they're making like a Frankenstein, and he specifically mentions G-Rap.
Yeah.
And as it's like, yep, I can definitely hear that influence from him as well.
Yeah, he kissed Kool G Rap's ring when he met him. Like, he literally kissed the ring. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's crazy. Like, it's not only a profound statement, it just speaks volumes to how dope G Rap is, but how humble and cool Pun was. Let me say something else, yo. I loved when the West Coast anointed Kendrick Lamar. Remember that
I
scene?
do.
Yo, I love that. I love that so much. I thought that was such a dope moment in history where everybody surrounded him and gave him the crown, essentially. I was like, I couldn't believe when I saw that and the emotions like Kendrick had on his face. And I mean, I might even you know what, I ain't even gonna say it on this camera right now, but that was a dope moment. And to me, that's what hip hop is. That's what it should be.
Do you remember where you were when you heard that Damn won the Pulitzer?
I don't know where I was, but I mean, you know, it came across the timeline or whatever line. I don't know. But that, you know, again, that speaks volumes. I mean, Obama has Black Boy Fly in his you know, Spotify playlist. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how profound Kendrick is. So that didn't really shock me. You know, it was something we already knew.
Mm-hmm. He
Yeah.
always struck me as somebody very, just even listening to him talk, just, you know, just hearing him conduct himself in interviews. He's
Mm-hmm.
you know, very well spoken, very articulate, but just the way he goes about doing it is a little bit different too. I remember when you interviewed him, what was that like?
It was great, man. Listen, you know, so for those that don't know, I have a daughter, right? And I only bring my daughter around certain people. I don't bring my daughter around everybody because I don't think, first of all, she should be around everybody. But at that time, she was, you know, considerably younger, and I brought her around when I interviewed Kendrick, and we did that in New York in front of an audience.
Mm-hmm.
And I was working with Apple at the time, so we did it in front of an audience at the Apple store, and it was a great experience. But I'll admit to this, you know, I knew who Kendrick Lamar was. I was certainly anticipating him and his first album, but I didn't fully understand how powerful that movement was, like how powerful he had tapped in with the younger generation. So we did this interview in front of an incredibly excited, enthusiastic audience. They were going crazy. You know what I'm saying? So I caught the energy going into the interview, but I think I would have done a little bit of a different interview if I had fully understood. You know, we live in I don't hang out with, you know, I don't know, whatever age that was at the time. I don't hang out with those people. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't get nobody in my ear like, yo, oh my God, oh my God. You know what I mean? You interviewing Kendrick, oh my God, I can't believe it. You know what I'm saying? So no one around me was acting that way. So it was cool, man. But I think I underestimated the interview a little bit. And so we had a great interview, but it wasn't I just don't think I got the full experience. You know, the whole crew was there. Absol was there. I think if I'm not mistaken, Top Dog was there. So it was awesome, man. Yeah, I really wish I wore a different outfit that day though.
Why is that?
I wore a suit. I wore a suit. You know what I'm saying? I was like, dang man, yo, dang man, I wore the wrong gear for this joint, man. I should have wore my hoodie and Timbs.
No, it works. I mean, dressing up for hip hop, one of the only times I like willingly put on a suit, shy of, you know, like funerals or, you know, very personal family situations like that, was when I interviewed Chuck D. So I can totally respect and understand dressing up for hip hop. That no
Yeah.
shame in that. Um, so where does all hip hop go in the future? What are the plans that you have? How do you plan on continuing to grow and evolve, and, you know, not only keep the audience you have, but, you know, getting new ones? I'm sure you've seen, or maybe you haven't, the Social Dilemma. And
Oh,
just
I've seen it 3 times, by the
oh,
way. 3 times. I
what
might watch it again.
what'd you think of it?
I thought it was amazing. I thought it was incredible. And I thought it spoke volumes to the addiction that is social media. And I think that probably to some extent, we have to begin to look at how we do things a little bit different, understanding that people are, in fact, addicted to these platforms,
Mhm.
and think of how to approach it in a similar fashion without being abusive, you know. So as far as all hip hop is concerned, that's kind of where we're heading. You know, back in the day, it wasn't a weird analogy. We used to refer to our thing as, you know, crack or whatever. You know, people got to get it every day, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not a crazy thing. I mean, I just don't think we had evil intent behind it.
Mhm.
We're looking really intently on expanding our what you would call influence and impact on the culture, tapping into the youth a lot more now. You know, as much as I love my heroes, they aren't necessarily the what you would call wave at this moment, which I respect them and I still talk to them, interview them, everything. But
Mhm.
it's also something to be said about the young people who are really doing great things, you know. And I'm not even critical. I've never really been critical of young artists at all. So one thing you'll notice is that we've never been in a part of that conversation that disparages young people or says, "Oh, you're so this or so that." I mean, for every Megan Thee Stallion, we had a little Kim. For every dude that screwed up, we had at least two or three that screwed up, you know. So it's not even a thing. It's just that people get old and they forget. Being a living, breathing member of the culture to this day, I just want to give young people the same opportunity and just be able to tap in, man. I mean, that's why to this day I don't listen to a lot of old music. You know, I
Mhm.
listen to new music. I listen to what's going on right now and what's in tune with what I like. You know what I'm saying? So D Smoke is in tune with what I like. You know, there's others that are as well. Um, but I don't listen to a lot of old school hip hop anymore.
Do you find it harder to relate to some of the newer music because hip hop traditionally is geared toward a younger audience? Like, what are you able to take away from it?
I find, you know, all right. So I was listening to the new 21 Savage song today with Metro Boomin.
Mhm.
I love the beat, but I just couldn't rock with the lyrics as much, you know. And I just think, again, you come from an era that prides itself on very on lyricism, and um, I just wasn't that impressed. Now I have a daughter, so I bounce things off of her all the time. So we had a long conversation about Lil Baby. She likes Lil Baby, and I'm like, yo, he's cool. I mean, he's not somebody I'm gonna listen to all day, but he
Mhm.
has a song, a socially conscious song that I actually legit like. I can't remember the name of it right now, but he has a couple other songs. If I take my my OG hat off and just chill out a little bit, you can actually enjoy it. So sometimes we have to. I mean, yo, like this is gonna sound crazy, but sometimes you have to like forget what you've heard in the past
Mhm.
to be able to process something new. You know what I'm saying? Because you're always really just referring to something that came at you when you were at your young and impressionable stage. It's
Mhm.
not that it was, it's really truly not that it was so much better or so much worse or what. I mean, it might be, but it really is that you found this culture and this music at this age when you were this um impressionable, and
Mhm.
that's why you love it. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I just don't do it. I got most of my friends, they do only listen to music from like the 90s and stuff, but I just can't do it. I just feel like it's not learning, it's not living to live like that. So you know, I pride myself on just being able to at least give somebody a try, a shot. And if I don't, one of my younger employees or contributors will.
Mhm. What advice do you have for aspiring hip hop journalists and just kind of people that document hip hop culture? Obviously, you've seen it change in the time you've been in it. You've done the physical print. You've done internet stuff. We're doing digital media streaming right now as we literally
Mhm.
speak. What advice would you have?
Well, it's kind of tough, man. I don't know what my advice is right now, and I don't know if anyone should listen to me. But if I do say something, is ownership is everything. Ownership is everything. People like to refer to their platform, but do you have a platform? Or are you on someone else's platform that you're calling your platform? So if I have any advice, that would be it. For a journalist, I would say that if you are a journalist, which I don't think there are a lot of right now, but
Mhm.
if you are a journalist, and I don't mean someone that just interviews people or just talks to people, I mean someone that can do investigative journalism or dig deeper than the surface, and try to get something out of someone that wasn't present previously known. I would say try to be the very, very best you can. Deep dive. Don't be afraid to ask hard questions. Challenge people. Challenge. That's why a lot of artists respect me, because I think that I always was able to know about them and go beyond the surface, and I was never a groupie. You know what I mean? Even though I think I've lightened up and I've allowed myself to enjoy artists a lot more and fan out a little bit when I respect someone. But the younger me was not a fan. I don't even have pictures from my earliest career, when I was meeting all these crazy people. So yeah. um you know I think mediocrity is like really the norm now.
Mhm.
Being average or shocking people to be shocking or trying to go viral is like the thing now. I can't rock with it, man. I would just like to be the best.
Mhm.
And for me and all hip hop, I feel like we are the best. And I don't feel like anyone's done what we've done. We're still independent. We're still owned by two black men, and we're very much in love with the culture. And that's something that you don't necessarily find every day. And when we leave this earth, I know that we have made an impact, and I know that we helped people for the better, and we left our space a better place. And so, not to get all weepy about it, but just to say that, man, money ain't everything. um 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 like, by any means necessary to get money is not everything.
Mhm.
You can't take it with you, man. Like, you just can't. So being the best is something you can take with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can take that with you. You can give that to your kids. You can give money to your kids too, but look at the president.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what is that worth? It's
Mhm.
worth, to me, the man that I am, that is worthless.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's my view.
No, that's deep, man. Very profound, and uh, no, that very very insightful. And I, even on West Coast Styles, I will say there would be no West Coast Styles if it wasn't for all hip hop. You guys definitely paved the way for us and so many other sites that followed in the trail you guys blazed, and you guys are forever etched in hip hop history. um we'll definitely make sure of that. uh and so, yeah, man, we really appreciate it. It's been
Thank you.
great talking with you,
Shout,
and I'm glad we were
shout
able
out
to.
to Tim, man. Shout out to my man Tim Sanchez. He's one of my most respected guys out there, and he needs to be uplifted as well. We There's too many good people that don't get enough credit, and he's one
Mhm.
of those people. So I always give him my eternal salute.
Oh, as do
Yeah,
I. Yeah, he's been great, and I mean, I had the pleasure of working with him and knowing him, and we were all together at All Hip Hop, and yeah,
yeah,
that's fantastic. And I'm glad we're able to kind of continue to work together and collaborate now with with Tim and me and you, and it's just an absolute wonderful thing. And I'm glad we were able to kind of keep that conversation going. I was like, it's like, oh, I know Chuck's a busy guy, but no, it's great chopping it up and talking hip hop. And I know I kind of jumped right into the interview too, but that
nice.
just gave us more time to talk. So that's
For
fantastic.
sure,
Um,
absolutely.
do you have any parting words or anything else you want to let the people know?
Nah, man, I'm catch me on social media at Chuck Creekmur, at all hip hop com, all hip hop com, and you know, spread the love, man. And also get some of this money, man. T.I.'s giving away. You know what I'm saying? allhiphop.com/TI. $1,200, man. Straight cash.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chuck Creekmur. It has been a pleasure and a privilege. Thank you for everything. And yeah, we'll definitely have to keep in touch.
Absolutely, my brother. Seriously.
All right. Yep. Take care, bro.
All right. Peace.
Peace.
What time is it? Okay, we have some fabulous live music later on, but right now, here's the kind I prefer.